D. Gerb and Big Mo. I'm Ricky Hampton, along with former NBA players Paul Mokeski and Derek Gervin. We're coming to you tonight on the D. Gerb and Big Mo Facebook page and the D. Gerb and Big Mo YouTube page. So send us your questions and comments, and we'll be happy to pass it on to the guys and they can answer them for you. How you guys doing?
Doing good, Ricky.
Fantastic, and a great Monday afternoon, Monday evening.
That's right. Happy King Day to you. Hope all your teams won over the weekend, football and basketball wise. We saw the end of an era, I think, yesterday evening when Tampa Bay took out New Orleans. Probably the end of Drew Brees' career. What do you think about that, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching that. I've been around a long time, and when I watched him leave the stadium, you know, he blew kisses up to his family up in the booth. And then I kept watching, and he got halfway through the tunnel, and he stopped, and he turned around, and he looked back in the stadium. That's something that someone's going, I may never be here again. And he turned around to look back into the stadium. And that, to me, said, this is probably it.
Yeah, I think it's about time. I think he realizes it. Even if you look at the game, he had trouble getting the ball down the field. And that's like been his history this season. And that's that decline we talk about when your mind tells you to do it, but your body just won't follow. Even if you look at that play where he passed the ball to Alvin Kamara, that was totally out of character for Drew Brees. But I will say this, if he quits, he goes down as one of the greatest of all time, without a doubt. He passed for over 80,000 yards. And he is without a doubt a first ballot Hall of Famer. And whatever he decides to do, I support him. And if he is done, I say, Drew, way to help the NBA or the NFL, man. Way to do your job. And that he did at a very high level.
And that's what became really noticeable yesterday. His inability to get the ball down the field. The longest pass they had was when Jameis Winston came in on the gadget play and threw a 60-yard bomb or something. He just couldn't push it, and them guys got right on top of that. And that was kind of the scouting report on Drew, and it was nothing they could really do about it. Although, you know, if I forgot the tight end's name, drops the fumbles the pass. Cook, they're driving.
Brees threw 3 interceptions, and they're still up 7. They're still up 7 until Cook made that fumble on the 40-yard line. And I think the rookie's name, the rookie Winfield punched that ball out.
Yeah.
And then they recovered it, and then they scored on that play. But they were up 7 even after 3 interceptions, which is crazy.
Yeah, and Winfield, his dad played in the league with the Vikings for a long time, so you know he was well schooled, and that just changed that game around. And now Tom Brady is on the cusp of another Super Bowl. I mean, he's got to be the luckiest man in the world, Derek, because he just
lucky or good.
Hey Ricky, I don't think it's luck, man. I mean, you create your own luck. Why does it keep being him? I mean,
right. Exactly. That's what so many people say. Oh, he's just lucky. Boy, I need to be lucky like that. I mean,
the guy's phenomenal, man. He's 43, and when you give him time, he's still Tom Brady. If you can't put pressure on him and get him out the pocket, he's still one of the elite passers in the game, and he gives you a chance to win. So Green Bay better be going over their scouting report and really, really going over it, because it's gonna be some tough games going on here. These last 2 games are going to be fantastic. My Bills against the Chiefs. I mean, I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, Brady has what Brees didn't have anymore. He still has his arm. He can still wing that thing. And I don't know if you're lucky if you win 800 Super Bowls with New England and then you leave. New England doesn't even get in the playoffs, and Tampa Bay, who hasn't been in the playoffs in 800 years, is now in the playoffs. I don't know about lucky about that, man.
No, absolutely. But that's what you hear a lot of people who aren't big Brady fans. Not that I'm a big Brady fan, but I got much respect for that guy's game. and he's just done it over the course of his career. So
did you all see the footage of Breeze and Brady at the end of the game with the kids?
With the Suns. Yeah.
That was something amazing. I mean, I posted that and I said, I've been through that before. I've got, as a player and a coach, I've got my butt kicked. And then after the game, I'll come home or I'll see my sons after the game and we'll go out and shoot some hoops on the, you know, in the stadium or the arena. And, you know, it brings it back to what it really is about. And that was something special. That was something.
Hey, Paul, the young fella went up like Mike Evans too. And on the catch.
The guy had defense on him too. I'm like, wow, that's a little fade to the air, corner end zone, man. That's a real.
I didn't sleep on that catch, man. I'm like, I had to at least acknowledge the young fella made a heck of a play there.
You know what the funniest part was though, to see the younger sister and brother on the turf and the sister beating up the younger brother.
Yeah. Welcome to
life. You know what that is, guys? It's just and the beautiful thing of sports is respect for your opponent. Because you know what it takes to get to where that guy is. You guys experienced that in your playing careers in the NBA.
Hey, but Ricky, we weren't looking at, man, that's 85 years, man. I mean, come on. Those two guys, 42 and 43 years old. Yeah. And people today walk around like they're old, man, and in their 20s. I mean, you better get with it. These two guys are setting an example that you're as old as you feel. And you look, it really was look at the spectrum. Drew still looks good. He just can't play the game the way he still did. But he still looks like his body's in very good condition. And you look at the other side of the spectrum, Tom Brady's still winging it. But both of them look like they're still in their 30s, man. And I wish him well the rest of Tom's career and Drew in retirement, whatever he chooses to do.
Yeah, my advice is get out of the game, man. So when you're intact, you know. I remember Larry Bird retired a little early, and everybody wondered why he retired because his back was so bad. And you know, his doctor said if you want to play with your kids when you get a little older, you can't do this anymore. Your back can't take that punishment. So you know, life after the sport is important.
Yeah.
Now both of you guys played a long time in the NBA, and Derek, you played overseas a long time. Could you tell when your mind would see it, but your body couldn't get to where you need to go?
Yeah, it's still doing that today.
Hey, Paul, you know, you're younger, you reacted immediately, just instinct. Now you got to think about it before you push off and start running. And that's how I felt. Hey, Ricky, it just felt like on the defensive end on the fast break, I wasn't getting down the floor as fast, like the guys were running by me. And that's when I knew, man, I was like, oh man, am I that slow, or is it father time? And I had to figure out, man, it was, in my case, it was father time.
You know what else tells you? Your Achilles. You make that cut and you pop your Achilles.
Yeah.
Just get out, man.
But what didn't your experience help you when your body couldn't do the things that it normally did when you were younger?
To a point. But at some point, like we're talking about Drew Brees' arm, I mean, his experience has carried him. I mean, his arm and his talent has, but his experience has carried him too. But at some point, it can't anymore, you know?
Ricky, I understand what you're saying. He saw the plays developing. You just can't get the ball there as quick. It's not like Drew forgot how to play football. It's just that his delivery and all that velocity, all of that was different. And that's all it was, man. At some point, your body just tells you enough is enough. And that's how he looked last night. Like I say, his body still looks great, but it just, for that game, he looks like he looks slow. And that's just how it is. That's Father Time is undefeated.
Undefeated. So they will, the winner of the Bills and Chiefs will play the winner of the, well, we talked about the Packers and the Bucks. In the AFC is the Bills and the Chiefs. The Bills are going to play also.
We talked about the Packers enough, man. We got to talk about the Packers.
Oh, well, that's going to be playing in the Super Bowl because they're going to win that game.
Nothing's a given, man. I mean, and I think it's a little different now. I mean, So Tampa has to go up and play in Green Bay, which is, you know, cold weather and the wind and all that. But like their coach said, you know, with today's heaters and blowers and jackets and, you know, that weather doesn't affect them as much. Of course, the wind does. But I think in the negative, with no fans or limited fans in Green Bay, that does affect their home court, home field.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not looking at home field. I'm looking at in week 6, the Packers beat Tampa Bay. In week 4, the Chiefs beat the Bills. I'm saying these teams have come a long way in these last 10 to 12 weeks. And I know how hard it is to beat a really good team 2 times. I'm saying both teams come back this year and get payback. So if you look asking me, I'm going straight up and I'm saying Green Bay Packers, like I've been saying all season, Packers versus the Buffalo Bills. Whether Mahomes plays or not, it's time for a new breed. This is the year of Josh Allen, and I really believe that. And I'm taking the Bills in this game, and I'm taking the Green Bay Packers.
I disagree with you on no disrespect to Josh Allen, but this is the year of Aaron Rodgers. Derek, he's been just incredible.
Ricky, I just said he's getting to the Super Bowl.
He's not even fair. It's not even fair how good that guy's playing.
Ricky, I said he's getting to the Super Bowl.
And he's going to lose in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, he's got like 52 touchdowns, I believe, and 5 interceptions. But I just think it's the year of the Bills, man. This has been a weird last year and a half, man. I just think the Bills remind me of that Kurt Warner team with the Rams, the Marshall Faulk, that team. And I just see something special in them. And then when they have an off game offensively, and they hold the Ravens to 3 points, that's impressive.
But you just said 52 touchdown passes. I mean, that's one of those video game stats, man.
You know what the Packers did that impressed me and gives me a lot of hope is they ran the ball. They had 188 rushing yards. They don't usually do that. And they established a running game first. And then Rodgers can do whatever he wants when they do that. So, you know, if Mahomes plays, Chiefs beat the Bills, go to the Super Bowl. And either way, Rodgers beats Kansas City or blows out the Bills, whichever team, if Mahomes plays or doesn't.
Wow, that's a scoop there, everybody. Remember that. That's quite a scoop.
You heard it here.
That.
You heard it here on D-Gerb and Big Mo. We want to welcome.
Well, you heard 2 versions, right? You heard the Packers win it, then you heard the Bills win it. So remember both of them.
That's right. That's right. And we want to welcome our viewers in tonight. We appreciate all you guys checking us out on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. And Kayvon has checked in to say, I'm chuffed to bits to know that Chris Finch has recently been reunited with his longtime coaching adversary and ex-colleague Nick Nurse as a member of Coach Nurse's Toronto Raptors. These two share a great history together, not only from their days spent coaching with and against each other, both across the pond in England and in the British Basketball League and the NBA D League as well.
Yeah, now they're missing one person, and that's me. So Toronto is 4-8 right now at the bottom of the division. So I'm just saying. You the missing piece. And I'm surprised that they started off so slow. Are you guys?
No, I'm not at all. I'm not. I mean, if you look at it, Ricky, Siakam was projected to be a star after Kawhi left. If you watched him last year in the playoffs, he looked like a little above average player. He didn't look like a star to me. And if you look at their team, Kyle Lowry and Van Vliet are their engine. I like Anunoby, you know, he's okay, he's a good player. But if you look at it, you got Van Vliet and Lowry, your 2 best players. And I don't think that's a team that competes all in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, even in the weak Eastern Conference, I agree with you, D. And, you know, the team that's more a surprise to me is Miami. Miami's slow start at 4-7 after playing so well and getting to the finals in the bubble is surprising, along with Denver, who's really struggling. Both those teams were bubble teams, and now I guess reality is hitting. Who knows?
I talked about Donovan Mitchell yesterday to a guy. Paul went to the store and he's sold on Donovan Mitchell. And I said Donovan Mitchell has played well this year, but he hasn't played like he played in the bubble. I mean, the bubble was him and Jamal Murray. So it is some truth to playing in the same gym over and over. I think that's affected Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and those guys as well. I know Bam has been hurt and Jimmy's been hurt, but I expected them to get off to a much better start this year than they have.
Yeah, I agree. But Utah is third in the West, though. So.
Oh yeah, they only lost 4, 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's a surprise in the West to me that Utah is just below both LA teams in the West.
Hey Paul, Conley's playing the best he's played in years.
Yeah.
So add that in as well, and then you got shooters. They got Bogdanovich and Ingles and those guys, and of course you got a guy that's up there for Defensive Player of the Year every year. You still got Gobert, so they've got a good team. Right now I have them. If they were to meet Denver, I would have them beating Denver this year.
Yeah.
And the play in the bubble was really, I think, high level. Do you think that's because there's really nothing else to do but play basketball? You didn't have to travel. You were always playing in the same gym. So did that really allow guys to lock in? Because I thought the play was at a high level.
Less games, too. Less games. So they didn't play 82 games and then play another 30 in the playoffs. So they didn't play 100 games to get to the finals. They played, what? They played 10 regular season and then they went right into playoffs. So a lot less games to prove what you're doing.
And it was like playing in St. Cecilia, Ricky. It's like playing every week in the same gym. That kind of helps. I know there was like 3 or 4 different, they rotated, but those gyms were shooting gyms. And if you see a lot of the guys that were mid-tier players, they shined as well. So it wasn't just Murray and Donovan Mitchell. You had a lot of guys that played above how they normally play. And then on the other end, you had your Paul George and the Clippers. That's another story. So most teams played better. A lot of these young players played well in the bubble.
Well, but Charles Barkley said it all the time, especially in the playoffs. Your role players, when you play at home in the playoffs, step up and play well and help you win. On the road, they usually do not, and it's up to the stars to win the games on the road. And in the bubble, there were no road games.
Well, why is that?
Because you're more comfortable playing in front of your fans that are pulling for you, and not as scared of making a mistake that when you play on the road, the fans jump down your throat when you do something not good. So they feel more comfortable.
You're more relaxed, Ricky. You got that home environment. Usually during the regular season, when you're traveling, you have that home comfort. And guys don't get those on edge. You're at home all day. You're relaxing around your television or whatever you're doing, and then you have your meal, you get your rest and all of that, and then you go to the gym. When you're on the road, these guys don't have a lot of other things to do, man. So you focus. Or some guys overthink, and a lot of the young guys, they're overthinking during the day, and then when the game comes, you're uptight. That's why a lot of guys don't play so well on the road. They just don't know how to carry that same mentality they have at home. Don't know how to carry that over to the road.
Also, when role players shoot an air ball at home, fans go, "Don't worry, he'll make the next one." You shoot an air ball on the road, and people get on your butt for the next 5 to 10 minutes. And it feels very, very uncomfortable.
Well, neither one of you guys ever shot air balls.
Philly or Detroit, 30 minutes.
So you never had to worry about that. Hey, our friend Ralph Riddle checked in, and he wants to go back to football. And he says, should there have been a penalty on the Cleveland fumble through the end zone? That was the difference.
Daniel Sorensen.
And should that be reviewed? And what did you guys think about the guy wrenching Mahomes' neck? The play that got him concussed.
Wait, Ricky, let me answer this. Well, first, let me start with the question about the fumble. I mean, the head-to-head. Rashard Higgins, for whatever reason, pulled on-headed play. First of all, they teach you about trying to reach the ball out. And it's like he tried to reach the ball to the end zone from the 2-yard line. It was a helmet-to-helmet hit. It was initiated by Daniel Sorensen, but the refs missed it, and it's not a reviewable play.
Well,
but you're in the playoffs, one game knockout. You get down to the end zone. Every possession counts. You don't try that play and you reach over the end zone and then you fumble the ball out of bounds and get a touchback. That was a 10-point turnaround, and that ended up really biting them at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's the rule is the rule. So when you reach out and fumble it and it goes out of the end zone, it's a touchback. And if it stays in the end zone, it's not a touchback. It's where you went down. They've talked about changing that rule for years now because it's not really fair. But however, the helmet to helmet was not reviewable. That rule of where the football went in and out of the end zone was reviewed, and they reviewed it. It's just a silly rule. But you're right, D. You don't. And the coach said that after the game. We always train our players not to reach out the ball when you get close to the end zone on that type of play.
You know, Emmitt Smith used to talk about guys fighting for extra yardage. Excuse me. And he would say, you got to know when the fight is over. You got to know when to go down.
Hey, Rick, certain teams lose for a reason.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Vincent Charles, I agree with Derek when he talked about Father Time. Your body will tell you. However, going back to the game, Paul, he's saying it's not that Tampa Bay played a good game, but the Saints played a bad game. They turned it over 4 times, and they turned it over, and the turnover was there on side of the field when they turned it over. So when Tampa took over, they were in great field position. You cannot win a game turning the ball over. Green Bay and Buffalo in the Super Bowl.
Well,
Brother Derek, I'm rolling with Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is the MVP, hands down. Love the show. Good work. Thank you, Vincent.
Yeah, I mean, Vincent, I agree with you, but turnovers is the reason. 3 of the interceptions and 1 fumble. Turnovers. When you look at Brady was 18 for 33 for 199 yards. Breeze was 19 for 34 for 135 yards. So it came down to, actually New Orleans had almost 100 more yards than Tampa Bay, but it ended up being turnovers. Now, whether you want to put that on Breeze, what about the fumble, all that, things like that change the momentum and lose games. Turnovers and in the game like that, it kills you. I mean, you look at the Packer game, they had no turnovers. I think they had 1 fumble, but it was recovered again. So, bad game, interceptions, yeah. But turnovers.
And turnovers are really highlight.
Rick,
go ahead, Derek.
let me say this quickly. People got to look at it's not just how Tampa Bay played either, because you got them credit for that because it didn't well. This is the difference in Tampa Bay. This is what Tom Brady brings. And I was explaining this to someone last night. Tom Brady brings a calming presence to that team. He has taught that team how to win. All the guys have bought in. So winning is winning when you play good and when you play bad. And that's what you've learned from Tampa. That's what he has brought to Tampa Bay. If you notice, we haven't heard from Bruce Arians the last 5-6 weeks like we were hearing from him every week. He learned to sit back, trust that man that they invested in, go for the ride. And the one thing I'll say, win or lose, Brady has taught them when you make turnovers, I'm the guy that can get you over the hump. And then that starts to just wear off on guys, and you start to learn how to win. So you don't have to play great, but mentally they were there, and they were still in it to win it.
Yeah, I was going to say turnovers are really highlighted in football, college and pros and high school. But turnovers in basketball will lose you games too. But they aren't emphasized as much as they are in basketball because everybody's going to have a few, I know. but you can have
There's how many?
Less possessions, Ricky. Football,
Yeah,
you got way less possessions.
Yeah, you're talking
reason,
about 60 possessions in a football game. You're talking about 120 possessions in an NBA basketball game.
yeah. But I was going to say, the 2004 Pistons championship team, I think they averaged only 6 or 7 turnovers a game. And now a lot of that had to do with the way Chauncey ran the show. And I always talk about that gave them extra possessions all the time against their opponent.
Yeah, turnover.
Value the ball. Value the ball.
And players don't value the ball anymore. My bad. No, you threw the ball away. Yeah, it's your bad. Stop doing that.
Let's go back to our viewers, man. We appreciate all the comments. We got a page full. We'll try to get to them. Kayvon, Coach Mo is really the missing link to the beloved Toronto basketball team. Coach Nurse and Coach Finch that hired their ex-Rio Grande Valley Vipers and standing life great Brenton's national team as the associate coach. I'd be all for that. Ralph, great point, D. The bubble was like intramural runs. And that's what they were saying. It was the greatest intramural AAU tournament ever down there. Miss Johnson's checking in. Glad to be with you, fellas. Had a minute tuning in. Stay safe and pray. Thanks, Mitch. We will stay safe and prayed up for sure.
Big Mitch, thank you, sir.
Listening to the game, listening to the show, and watching the Bucks and Nets. A good game. I heard that James Harden is passing the ball like he's Magic Johnson today. Pass first, James Harden, guys.
What do you think about that, D? I'm watching the game the first half, and I'm looking at Harden, and that's not the same Harden. He's looking pass first, looks like a distributor, sharing the ball with other people, not just KD. I'm like, why didn't you? He's not over dribbling. I'm like, why didn't you do that in Houston?
Well, I guess he looks at him with another superstar, and I'm gonna tell you how much he. Here's the question I have though, Paul, because he's been handling the ball, and they've been staggering some of his and KD's minutes. But Harden is bringing the ball up the floor. What happens when Kyrie comes back? Because he could have played tonight. How do they work that out? Does Harden bring up the ball half the time, and Kyrie brings up half the time? That's the part that's interesting to me moving forward.
Absolutely. I agree. And they look good. They look good tonight. So, hey, how about we trade Kyrie and get a big guy? How about that?
To back up Jordan?
Sure, why not? Better one. But no,
replace that Jared Allen energy. I can hear it. I can feel that. Replace that Jared Allen energy.
They will never do that. They're going to see if the three can work. And I agree, though.
Paul, I cannot. Paul,
I've been
thinking about this.
They're going to try it, though.
Go ahead, Paul.
I agree with you. I don't think it works, but they're going to try it. They will try it. Absolutely.
You have to try. No, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately at night, man. You got to try it, because just think about it. If it works, you don't need, I guess, as much of a bench. Maybe 2 or 3 guys. They can play an 8-man rotation like you do in the playoffs anyway. Because when I look at the lineup, Kyrie buys in, and I do what I see Nash doing. He's going to allow all those guys to play their games. So all 3 are going to have the ball. The difference is a lot of KDs are going to be on post-ups now, as opposed to a lot of the 3 or 4, the crossovers and all that. He'll still get his opportunities. But, man, it's going to be interesting because Harden he's still going to dribble 15 times, and then they got to set the pick and roll. Then Kyrie going to do his thing. But the only thing that can get them over the hump is if DeAndre continues to play like he's doing now, and the rim protector, and Joe Harris and Jeff Green keep knocking down shots.
That's my point, though. Harden is not playing like that now. Harden is bringing the ball down. But now when Kyrie comes, well, you're dribbling. I agree, and we're gonna find out. If it works,
But Kyrie played with LeBron. LeBron had the ball in his hands most of the time, so he was able to do his thing when he was with LeBron.
But then what? He wanted out, right? I want out. I don't want to play with LeBron. He wanted out. He got out. He left. He won a championship and left.
And hey, Paul, don't you think Kyrie could be really effective off the ball? Because once he catches it, then he's in a position to go one-on-one without the help being able to get there in time. If he plays off the ball, as opposed to all 10 eyes on you from the beginning of the initial beginning of the play. How about move the ball and then catch it in scoring positions?
Either him or Harden. I tell players all the time that are ball hungry, right? It's so much easier if you let the game come to you, move it around, pass it, catch it on the wing and attack. It's so much easier. It's like
give me a good example of guys that do that.
It's like with Giannis, right? When he rebounds and starts dribbling it down the floor, everybody's looking at him. So in the playoffs, when they key on him and he goes and they cut him off and he spins and charges into people or throws it away, it's the same. It's easier to attack from the wing after ball movement, for
Hey
sure.
guys, give me
Ricky,
guys that let the
Ricky,
game come to them.
KD is a perfect example. KD doesn't always have to have the ball, and he learned to move without the ball more playing with Steph and Clay. Once you move the defense, this is how I see even in AAU ball, you see a lot of teams can't penetrate because when you first start to play, everybody's in their defensive position and they're focused on you. So you haven't made the defense do anything. So everybody's zoomed in on you. When you start moving the ball around, it gets players defensively to move out of position. And instead of being right up in front of you on defense, a lot of times guys end up on the side you way or the other. Real scorers want that. They want to see a lane to the basket. That only happens when you have ball movement. And that's what some of these guys, they're so used to playing ball dominant. It's easier to score. You catch the ball in scoring positions on the wing after you've broken the defense down.
And you playing ball dominant. Once you get to the playoffs, good defensive teams are going to take that away from you.
That's exactly.
I mean, that's where like European basketball is different. European basketball is ball movement, player movement, and that's how you make the defense work and move. And I promise you, most NBA teams don't want to play defense for more than 10 seconds. They just want to play a little defense with the ball. So if you make them play defense for 15, 20 seconds and actually move and not just watch you on defense, I'm just going to watch Harden dribble. That doesn't take any. I don't have to move. You know.
Hey guys,
there aren't many Drew Holidays out there today, Paul.
Well, and you know what? You mentioned Drew Holiday and John Washington. I think it was John. Let me check here. Somebody just mentioned Drew Holiday. John Washington. My man Drew is the most underrated guard in the league. Still mad my 76ers gave up on him so fast. Drew Holiday.
John Washington, you're a smart man. He is my two most underrated players in the NBA are Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown. And what people don't understand about Drew Holiday is he can bring it both in. But defensively, if I taught a clinic and I had it on video, what a clinic is supposed to look like, sliding your feet, and then getting back and maybe have to contest someone else's shot, Drew Holiday is the guy that I will be showing. So I'm glad you checking out that game and understanding the game, Mr. Washington, and thank you for being a part of the show.
He's got, by the way, it's starting in the fourth quarter and Holiday has 20 points.
Wow. Hey, I wanted to ask you
and
guys.
Paul, he'll force you into 4, 5, 6 bad shots just by his constant pressure and being there every time.
I want to ask you guys about the situation in Cleveland with Kevin Porter, second-year player, had a great rookie season, averaged 10, 11 points a game, 3, 4 assists. He just went off today, a couple of days ago, and now some explosion about his locker, and the Cavs seem to be sick of it, and they're going to move on from it.
I mean,
Ricky, he's been hurt. Let me take this quickly. and he gave Torian Prince his locker. First of all, in 10 years, if they chose to give him the locker, then that's no big deal. And then you turn that into an argument with the general manager, and throwing food, and you have all with Kobe Ullman. That is not a good recipe trying to have a 5-10 years in the league. That's going to get you a career. And it's not, the sad thing is, it's not his incident. So I'm hoping he gets surrounded by some better people in his corner, people that tell him, young man, you're okay, the back door. He needs some advice, and he needs it quickly. His behavior has gotten out of hand. Saying has not been his first.
It's a classic example of someone that's very talented that was a risk coming into the NBA because he had off-court issues. He rolled a car last year with a gun in it, and he has a lot of talent. And at this point in his career, it can go one way or the other. It can go up or it can go diving down, where he's just another player that had talent and now overseas playing in China or wherever, making okay money, that never reached his potential because he needs to listen. He's only 20. He's a kid. He's only 20. And he never, I mean, I don't know if people out there know, but you know, his dad was in jail for manslaughter. He was charged with murder for killing a 14-year-old girl, but it ended up being an accidental shooting with a gun. And then later on in his life, when he got out after 4 or 5 years, then he was killed in a bar fight over an argument. That's his dad. So you know, he's a kid. He's 20 years old, and like you said, he needs someone to. And I heard this on ESPN today, and I agree with it. The NBA and the Players Association and the Retired Players Association should get together and have someone on everybody's staff that the players can go to. He's not a coach. He's not tied to that organization, but he's been there. He's done that. And someone that a young kid like him, 20 years old, I'm not making excuses for him. He's ruining his own career right before his eyes. But it would be nice if someone said, hey, you know, someone that's been there, someone that's been through trouble, someone that's made something out of his life that he can go to and or the other way around. And you can sit him down and say, listen, you know, your talent, you could be a great player in the NBA, but you're just blowing it right now. You don't even know it. You're going head on with the train and you don't even see the train in front of you. So let me point out this train and how it can work and how we can get it around it and get you a career set. But he, you know, it's such a sad situation. And then you have, you know, where Harden is demanding a trade and gets his trade, and Kyrie doesn't want to play, and you know, so that's who these young players are looking up to. But you know, if the NBA and the Players Association truly, really want to help young players who get millions of dollars, he's going to make 1.7 million this year, 1.7 million next year, and help them with their careers and help them become good players on the court and better citizens off the court, they need to put a program in place that can help these young kids that aren't coaches. Yeah, D. Gervin would be great. You could be right there in San Antonio. It'd be perfect. I mean, you know, and so it costs, you know, 80, 100 grand a year. It's $1 billion business. And do something for the players.
And Paul,
hey,
I mean,
Ricky,
so what if it costs 80 grand a year? You invested millions into these guys. That's a pittance to have a resource for those guys.
Paul, that was genius, Paul, because think about it, Ricky, even these guys like Kenyon Martin, Jermaine O'Neal, some guys that had some growing up to do when they played, man, really. Even you look at guys like Stevie Francis, guys that have had trouble, but they've been like basically franchise players. If you had one of these players, whoever's in that city, man, reach out to one of these guys and start. We need to help these young players, man. A lot of this is, I'm like Paul, not making excuses. A lot of this is what these guys are seeing. And, you know, a lot of them, you're going to mimic what you see if you're around it every day. And they do need mentors, man. I would love to reach out and help these young people. We've been there. We didn't get to this age by not knowing a few things. And for me, man, that would be like a dream come true to be able to help one of these young people or 2 or 3 of them that problems off the court.
The NBA has a mentors program, but it's kind of voluntary. It's kind of, it is there, but it's not really there.
Yeah, not hands-on.
It needs to be focused, just directed right at that problem. And there's NBA players like you, D, all over the country, living in all these cities that would welcome that. And players, because first of all, young players aren't going to seek that out. For most part, no young 20-year-old player in Cleveland going to go, hey, I know so-and-so who played in the league and lives in Cleveland. I'm going to go find him. You need to put that right in front of him and and almost make it mandatory. You need to talk to this guy once every week or whatever for an hour. It can be, casually in the weight room or wherever. But
isn't that something the Players Association should be advocating for?
There is that. There's a program of mentoring. Most of it is in the G League. There's mentoring program in the G League, but it's not. It's just there. It needs someone to take it by the hand and really push this and make it almost mandatory to have to do this.
Ricky, that league is a day-to-day process, and these mentor programs, they're not hands-on like they should be. These guys need somebody that's there regularly, man, 20 on call, basically 24/7. It might even be a meeting in person. This might be a conversation on the phone. Yes, I know, Paul, their lives are worth more than any dollar. In my mind, they are. Their lives are worth more than that. And it's not fair to some of these guys. Hey, Ricky, you don't know how to behave if you've never really, some of these guys haven't been around consistent good behavior. And it's hard to emulate something you don't see. So some of them are learning on the fly.
Derek, Paul was just talking about Kevin Porter. You think of all the things that have gone on in his life, you wonder how many positive role models he has. Hey, our friend. No, go ahead.
No, my first thing when I meet him, this is how we would meet. It would be a hug. First, I'd be a handshake and a hug right away. That's how I would introduce myself to Kevin Porter Jr.
With the social distance, I guess you had to give him a fist bump.
Yeah, with the social distancing today, but no, I'm showing you how ordinarily that would be my introduction.
I mean, the Dallas Mavericks have a team psychologist who's been there for a long time. He's a great guy, and they do confide in him and they do talk to him, but he's not a former player. He doesn't know what it's like to play in the NBA. That's different.
Yeah. And there's so many guys like yourself all around the country who would love to do something like that and share their experiences. Hey, our friend Corleone Young, what's up, Corleone? Checks in. He says, ask D. Gerb, what does he think about Nash and the fit of the staff in New Jersey?
The staff in New Jersey?
Yeah. The job.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. With Steve Nash coming in and Sean Marks, I don't know. We got to see how this plays out. Kyrie, as we know, didn't want Steve Nash there. But I'm a guy that believes in giving these people, man, the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to trust the guys that he picked as his assistant coaches to have his back. I am glad Jacques Vaughn is still there. I think it depends on your wins and losses. Everybody's happy when you're winning. And everybody's upset when you're struggling. I think I'm going to believe in this Clipper. Me being a former net, I'm going to believe in the moves they're making. So I'm going to support, I'm just going to say they made the right moves. And I think they have the right people in place.
What about you, Paul?
Steve has his hands full, especially when Kyrie comes back, because Kyrie, KD, and Harden are established all-star players that have an established way to deal with themselves. But when you talk about the Brooklyn Nets staff, so it's Mike D'Antoni, everybody knows him. Ime Udoka, who was in San Antonio, former player. You know him, right, D? Great guy, great coach.
Yeah.
Amari Stoudemire is there.
He's married to Nia Long, Paul.
Amari Stoudemire is there. Jacques Vaughn is there. Tiago Splitter is there. Ryan Forehand Kelly is there, who I coached in the D League years ago. He's from LA, and there's a couple others, but that's a great staff.
That's a
And there
great
is somebody
staff.
for every player, even European players, to talk to on that staff.
Hey,
That's
Paul,
a special staff, Paul.
It's a good staff.
That's a
Paul,
Corleones. You
what
heard
is
that's the answer you got, big man. And I gotta say this quickly. Corleone, I hope your book does well, my man. And thanks for tuning in.
and remember, Corleone, when that thing drops, come back and check us out, brother.
For
Hey,
sure.
Paul, what does a good assistant do? How does he impact a team?
Well, nowadays in the NBA, there's 10 assists. I don't know how many there are.
Yes.
You know, that the first assistant is usually like a former head coach or an advisor type guy that the head coach can bounce ideas off of, get thought process, what worked before, what doesn't work. The second assistant is usually in charge of coordinate the scouting reports and the practice schedules. And now they break up an offensive guy. He probably monitors the offense, what plays are running, their efficiency. A next assistant's probably maybe in charge of the defense, how that's working, how that stuff. And then there's player development coaches that work out players, and they're around the players all the time, and they're talking, and they're in the meetings. But staffs are now really broad, and you know, the main thing I think an assistant coach has to do, and I've been one in the NBA, is you need to support your head coach. You can have different ideas than him, but when you walk out of the coach's room, it's one idea, and that's the head coach, because that's the final decision. And you can't backstab him. You can't talk to players behind his back. You can't do any of that stuff. And that goes for all the assistant coaches. And then all the assistant coaches should have a pulse of the team. When I was in Charlotte with Sam Vincent as the head coach, Phil Ford, and we had a couple of coaches there, and he broke up, and we all each had 4 players that we were responsible to. We talked to them on the airplane. We talked to them before practice. We went over a video with them, and that was our responsibility. And then we could report back to the head coach, hey, Emeka Okafor is really frustrated now because he's not getting the ball, and he's rebounding and he's playing defense. So we need to maybe let's run some plays for him, give him the ball early. Stuff like that is what assistant coaches need to do, and not be yes men and just fall into categories. They should be supportive of that head coach.
Hey, shout out to Sam Vincent and Paul. That's my era. Sam was Mr. Basketball. My senior year, I believe Sam was Mr. Basketball in Michigan. Yes. Younger brother of Jay Vincent. So shout out to Sam Vincent.
Sam is coaching in Bahrain. He's won a couple cups over there. That's where he is now.
And the funny thing, our buddy Ralph Ritter, who's a friend of the show, who's an outstanding basketball fan in his own right, used to work out with those 2 guys. And he used to work out with Magic. Ralph is about 6'7", and he was a ball handler. And he showed Magic that, hey, you could be that tall and handle the ball. Hey, John Washington says Nash got these guys back cutting and diving to the hoop off the ball. What a beautiful thing to see.
Kyrie's not there yet.
That's funny.
Hey, Paul, it seems those guys like playing with Harden. It doesn't seem to be fake. It seems like they've bought in. They've accepted him, their open arms, and I think the sky's the limit.
Because for now, he's not over dribbling and he's passing the ball right now. Now, that all can change it. We know, that could change in a month when he starts dribbling 24 times if he does. But I hope that he keeps playing like this, and maybe he realizes, wow, I could have done this a long time ago. It's easier.
Hey, I want to go back to Kayvon.
I'd rather him be a...
No, go ahead, Paul. Go ahead, Derek.
Go ahead, Ricky. No, you're first, sir. I want to hear this question. Go ahead, Derek.
Well, Kayvon talked about his beloved Raptors. And, they're not playing in Toronto. They're down in Tampa. Do you think that has an impact?
Yes. So they played in the bubble, and then they got a break, and then they came back. And NBA teams didn't want to play in the bubble, so they're not, except Toronto is still playing in the bubble. They're down in Florida because they can't play in Canada.
It's
Okay,
almost
well,
like
maybe
they're on the
it's-
road playing as a road team on them.
Maybe let's
They're
straighten it
staying-
out, Kayvon.
They're not going home. They've got to stay in a hotel. They're not seeing their family. There's that whole thing. It does affect them. Yeah, for sure.
John Washington, young players looking for yes men until the team puts the responsibility on that player. Most will continue to get in trouble. But you know, I think on the whole, NBA players handle their business for the most part. We don't hear many stories like we heard about Kevin Porter. For the most part, it's just disappointing to hear Porter's story. The guy has so much potential, and you know, teams don't have time to babysit you up there. I'm sure, guys.
No, if you're not James Harden or Westbrook or KD or Dirk Nowitzki, I'm sorry, you got to go. I mean, D, we saw it. I saw so many times 10-day contracts come in, try to take my job, but you know they didn't know what it took and they were gone. They might have been better than me, but it's heartbreaking to see young talent get really sidetracked like that. But you're right, Ricky. There's not, when you think about it, how many opportunities that could happen because you're giving them millions of dollars, but it doesn't happen that much. But it's starting to happen more and more. So how about we get ahead of that and start doing that Coach Mo program in the NBA? That's what I'm calling it now.
Coach Mo program, absolutely. Hey man,
Come on, Adam Silver. Come on, Adam Silver.
we're heading down the home stretch of D. Gervin and Big Mo with former NBA players Derek Gervin and Paul Mokeski. Hey, the Raptors are handling the Mavs. They're up 108-87 with 4:02 left to go in the fourth quarter. We only got a couple more minutes left, guys. Was there anything particular that stood out to you from the past week you would like to talk about?
Go ahead, D.
Well, for me, it's I'm looking at these playoffs, trying to figure out as we go forward in the NBA which teams are going to be making moves or not. Because we've been talking a lot about Brooklyn, and if I look at Brooklyn, I still think they're. It depends on Kyrie if he doesn't upset the unit the way they've been playing. And then you look at Milwaukee, I still think Milwaukee is a move short. I think they need one more guy. Drew Holiday was a great add, but looking at their team, they still don't look like they missing something from me. And I still don't see them coming out of the East when it comes playoff time.
Here in Detroit, guys, Derrick Rose is just terrific. I mean, and this team is looking to get young. Is there anybody out there that he would fit?
Clippers.
Milwaukee.
LA Clippers.
Milwaukee. But I mean,
either or, Paul. But you know, me being a Clipper fan, I'm saying like Patrick Beverly is not a starting guard. He's a very good sixth man or seventh man off the bench and bring that energy off the bench. Derrick Rose gives them a high motor. He only adds to the way they're playing today. They're passing up the good shots, great shots. And I think Derrick Rose still is playing well enough to help their team.
But he doesn't play starters minutes in Detroit.
Philly.
Well, he can play them with the Clippers. I'd rather Derrick Rose than Reggie Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Philly could use them. I mean, right now it's kind of shifting now. Milwaukee's up 2 on Brooklyn right now, but I'm watching out of the corner of my eye. Sorry. But it looks like you're looking at Milwaukee and New Jersey, Brooklyn, the Nets are now starting to push because it was Philly and Boston, right? Philly, Boston, Philly, Boston, Philly, Boston. And now I think both Milwaukee and Brooklyn have stepped up above them. But in reality, I think any of those 4 could come out of the East, depending if they make a move or anything like that. But Indiana's up there. The New York Knicks are up there. But I don't see them having any kind of talent or impact unless Miami wakes up very fast. That I think Miami does have the talent to compete with those 4 in the East. I see those 4 battling it out for the East to come out of the East.
Hey, one more question, one last question. Great question, John Washington. Big Mo, if the opportunity presents itself, what big man would you like to work with in the NBA?
Oh, wow. Any of them. I mean, actually, the young big kid in Golden State, they're
Wiseman.
drafting. Wiseman. I watched him play a couple times, and it was a big question mark. I know he didn't play much in college. His numbers weren't great. But when I watched him play and actually play, he plays with a poise. He plays with a tempo. He plays with the energy. And now I can see what NBA scouts saw in him. He needs to get better at quick rolling to the basket, slip and picks maybe a little better. He obviously has to work on his pick and pop action and really get good with a jump hook drop step. But if I'm picking a guy, that's one guy that really ticks all the boxes for me of a young big that I would love to work with.
And send me my big son. Bo, where are you?
Hey, guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You asked some terrific questions tonight. We always appreciate you and all our people.
Hey, Ricky, let's quickly, like before we get off, I know we're running up.
No
so
problem.
The West, I know, D, you like the Clippers, I like the Lakers, and then you're looking at Phoenix, Utah, or Denver because Portland and Dallas are struggling now. Do you see anything different than that, D?
I see Portland dropping out of there, man, and they've been so hurt. You know, it's been very unfortunate with their team. I see the team you mentioned, the Clippers and Lakers, over everyone else. I see Utah. I think Utah. I think Dallas is back in the mix. Porzingis is back. I think they'll start doing better. And then with the Spurs and the Pelicans and all those Sacramentos and Phoenix, I believe I'm gonna put Phoenix in the top 5. And those other 3, the Spurs, Sacramento, and all those teams will be fighting for the 6th, 7th, and 8th spot. But I do think the Warriors might be able to get near that 8th spot. But right now, with the team constructed the way it is, I'm going to move them out of there. So it's going to be a 5-team race. But I'm looking at the Lakers and Clippers, without a doubt, head and shoulders above everyone else.
And we got to see what moves are going to be made. Because there are going to be some more deals before.
Well, some moves not going to help some teams, Ricky, because they're not bringing in superstars.
Yeah.
Oh, Middleton just missed a 3 to win the game. To win the game. And I like Phoenix, and there's another big DeAndre Ayton there that I would like to work with. So there you have it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right, guys. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. For Paul Mokesky, Derek Gerber.
Thank you, listeners. Paul, I love you guys. Have a great night.
You guys too. Peace.